several different classifications of skilled trades workers who do this type of electrical work to make sure that planes can land here and do it safely with all of the lighting and signage that they need to know where they're going around the airport. So, Jordan, can you tell me what's happening here today on site with this signage over here?
Yeah, so this job that we're doing here at Dixon Airport in Illinois, we're installing new runway edge lights and also the new taxiway guidance signs to go along with it. So this sign that we're installing here is something that airplanes use to navigate around the taxiways and runways when they're taxiing out to take off on the runway, and also for any ground vehicles like us driving around, so you know what taxiway you're on and what runway you're coming up to.
Okay. Can you, I don't understand it. Can you tell me a little bit about the B3012, what that stands for and how they use it?
The B on the sign, that's letting you know that's the taxiway designator of what taxiway that you're on. All the taxiways on every airfield at every airport are lettered based off of the phonetic alphabet. So taxiways could be Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, and all the way through the whole alphabet, depending on how many taxiways they have. And then runways are designated by numbers based off of the compass. So in this case, with it being 30-12, that would be short for 300 degrees and 120 degrees. And that's how it would be basically laying on the land, based off of the compass.
Okay, awesome. So what is the work that's happening right now? Are they, is there any electrical component to this? Or I see some concrete and a sign that we didn't make. This is something we purchased. What else has to be done here?
Yep, so basically we come in here and we will dig and set our wooden forms so that we can pour our own concrete foundations. So we'll pour the foundation first, we'll pour the concrete and finish it, and then inside of each foundation there's junction cans where all of our electrical splices will be that will power and feed that light. So inside of that sign, the panels themselves are reflective, so in case the light ever fails, you'll still have a reflective sign that you can see at nighttime. But inside there's light, so it also lights up. So after we set and pour the foundation, right now we're mounting the sign to our brand new foundation. We're anchoring it down, getting it mounted, and then after that we'll come through and we'll plow in or dig in our conduit, pull wire to it. Once the wire's in, we'll make the splices up, and then that circuit will feed the lights inside the sign so they light up at night.
Okay. So what else do we have here on this airport, and what do you typically see at an airport that helps pilots navigate the ground?
Right, so a lot of the work that we do at airports is going to be all of your runway and taxiway edge lights. Those are, you'll have that at every airport. Now once you get into more of the approach lighting circuits and different kinds of approach lights, every airport's kind of set up different, where some airports will have approach lights at each end of each runway, and then other places just have one or two set of approach lights. This job that we're doing here, we're doing all new runway edge lights and the guidance signs. We're not necessarily doing any work on the approach lights here, but we do that a lot at other airports.
Okay. You sound like you've seen a lot of different variety in airports. If you had to guess, how many do you think you've worked on in your career? Over
a lot.
What?
Yep. I don't know if I could even put a number at it. It's been between 50 to 100 different airports.
Okay. Wow.
It's been quite a lot, and I really enjoy doing it. You can get out here. You're on the airfield. Right now with where we're at, this red sign, that's actually letting you know that you are the closest point to that runway that you can be before you get into the safety area of that runway. So a lot of times, like at a bigger, busier international airport, if we're working right here installing this sign, there'll be 747 jets taking off and landing, only sometimes 200 feet away as you're out here doing your work.
Basically just on the other side of those flags where we've got it closed off right now.
Yep. So we don't see that happening right now, but a lot of times when we're out here working, we'll be, digging with equipment or pouring concrete or pulling wire, making splices, terminating wires. I mean, when we're doing all that, there'd be big jets taking off right here, and it's very cool to be out here and that close to see that happening out here.
Yeah, if we're lucky, maybe a plane will come in while we're on video. But
right.
We do have a couple here over to our side. If you can see those in the distance, we have a few small planes there parked. But while we're back here looking at actually some of the work we're doing, what do these flags indicate? Is part of this not active right now?
Right. So whenever we close down an area on an airfield to do any construction work, there'll be a phasing plan that's been designed by engineers so that we can safely close down certain areas of the airfield while still allowing airplanes to use certain taxiways to get to certain open runways so they can still use the airport to be able to fly in and out of while we have some areas closed. So what we did was we went off of their phasing plan, and we closed down certain taxiways, like Bravo is closed right now, Delta, and taxiway Echo is open. So what we had to do was place out high-vis barricades with flags so that the airplanes know that they can't come down this closed taxiway. So that way, when we're out here working, we don't have to worry about airplanes coming into our work zone.
Okay. So if you do have to, say, get to another area of the airport where we're working, if you can see it in the distance, there's a very small white spot over there. That's actually another J-Rink electric truck where a different part of the crew is working over there. So how does that work to get around the airport?
So whenever you have to navigate around the airfield on any active surface where the runway is open or taxiways are open, you actually have to communicate on a radio that all the airplanes will have the same style radio in their plane. And if you need to cross a runway, like at an airport like this where there's no air traffic control tower, you would just communicate on the radio and you would announce that you're crossing the runway or you're on an active taxiway. And if there was an airplane in the area that was coming in to land, he would hear you announce that and know that you were crossing, and he could at that point say, that he's on a 5 or a 10 mile final, he's coming in to land. And then once we hear him say that, then we know, hey, it's not safe to cross right now because there's an airplane coming in to land on the runway that we're trying to be on.
Yeah, we absolutely do not want any collisions between J-Rink electric trucks and aircraft.
No, definitely not. So that's why communication is a huge thing out here. I mean, it's knowing where you can go, where you can't go, and even when you're going to the places that you need to go, just communicating. And it's kind of cool because you get to talk to different pilots and let them know that you're out here working, and then they let you know that they're coming in to land. So then you just stay on this side of those red signs, and then they land on the runway and everything's safe.
Yeah, it sounds like communication is really important to keeping you and the rest of the crew safe. What else do you guys do in order to keep yourself and those around you safe while you're on the job?
A lot of it is we have a JSA that we do every morning. We talk every morning about what we're going to do for the day. We all know where we're going to be at. We know that we're going to have a crew working over there, and we know that we're going to be working over here. And the other big part is making sure that we de-energize any of the circuits that are out here, because it doesn't look like much because a lot of it's underground. All the conduit and wiring for all these lights are underground. So whenever we're going to be digging or plowing with our plow machine or working anywhere near any of these circuits out here, we always go to the electrical vault building and we turn the circuits off and we lock out, tag out.
Can you give us a little explanation what lockout tagout is? That's one of those terms. Actually, before you do, really quick, I heard one that I didn't know when I started working here. JSA, that's a job safety analysis. It's basically check in with everyone and talk about what the hazards are for the day. But tell me about lockout tagout.
Yeah, so lockout tagout, these circuits out here on the airfield, the taxiway lighting circuits and the runway lighting circuits, they are fed off of a big transformer that's called a constant current regulator, where it takes the power from the vault building, you know, like a 240 volt circuit, and it will bump that voltage up, and that regulator will push through these big series circuits. By the time you go from the electrical vault building that's way up there, and you run your wires all the way out to the runway, and go all the way down the runway, and all the way back around and back to the vault, some of these circuits that we install are 4 or 5 miles worth of wire. So those big regulators, they push out anywhere from 500 volts to all the way up to 5,000 volts to keep the voltage flowing through 5 miles worth of wire after we run it all the way around the runway and splice it to a light that's every 200 feet down the edge of the runway. So having,
in order to not come into contact
right,
with that,
yeah, having that high of a voltage out here, running for that long of a circuit, where we're gonna be, you know, digging, you know, we might be, a lot of the times we're plenty far away from them, but regardless, we don't want to be anywhere near that high of a voltage. So that's when we do lockout, tag out, and that's where we go in the vault building where the power source is from, and we'll turn the breaker off in the panel, and we'll put a breaker lock on it, and then we'll actually put one of our own padlocks on and a tag. So that's the locking and the tagging. That means you locked it so that it can't get turned back on, and then you tagged it to let anybody that's trying to turn it on know that you can't turn this on, and this is who turned it off, and you know, you can put the date and the time on there. But so we'll lock and tag the breaker so that the power can't get turned on to the regulator, and then we'll go to the regulator, and we'll also lock out and tag out that piece of equipment too. And then on these big, you know, 5,000 volt series circuits that run the runway lights, inside that building, there'll also be a cutout where you can, it's wired into that series circuit, and as soon as you turn everything off and then pull that cutout, you're actually taking a part of that circuit away, so it can no longer connect. So even if the breaker and the regulator somehow gets turned on, it won't pass through the circuit because you've eliminated that cutout. So that's something that we'll actually take and bring with us, put it in the truck, so we know that somebody else can't accidentally put it back in and energize any of these high voltage circuits out here.
yeah, so it's basically a fail-safe that none of our workers are going to come into contact with electricity that they're not expecting to be there.
Yep.
Okay.
That's the big thing is, you know, do whatever you can to make it safe so you know you can come out here and not get hurt.
Right. Yeah, that's absolutely the goal. Every day is to get home to our families when we're done building things.
Right.
We had a question come in actually asking about your career path story, and that's something I wanted to ask you about anyway. So that's awesome that we've got some viewer interaction here. So Jordan, tell us about how you got into this job, and I guess, take it from there.
Actually, when I was in high school, my junior and senior year of high school, I was going, you know, vocational classes, I think is what they call them, where I was going to Lansing Community College and taking electrical courses. So I kind of already had an idea I wanted to get into, you know, being an electrician. I didn't even know work like this existed at the time. You know, I thought it was wiring houses and buildings and stuff. But so I was taking those college classes through high school for electrical, and my previous employer, he actually went to the college and kind of asked the instructor, hey, can I talk to the students and offer them a job when they, you know, as soon as they graduate from high school. So that's what happened. He came, my old boss, he came to the college. He said, whenever you graduate high school and you're ready to go to work, I'll hire you. So that's actually what I did. I mean, if you got an opportunity like that where somebody says, you know, I'll give you a job if you want to work, you know, so I jumped on it, and I worked for that company for 6 or 7 years doing this same kind of work. He offered me a job and I took it, and like I said at the time, I didn't even know that you could actually be out on an airfield, you know, wiring runway lights for a living.
Yeah, it varies from contractor to contractor. Not every company does work like airports.
Right.
And we as a company don't do houses.
Right.
Residential work is not part of what we try to do. So,
so I feel I'm pretty fortunate for having an opportunity offered to me, and having the ambition to want to go to work and have a good job. And like I said, I worked for him for 6 or 7 years, and then fortunately I was it worked out good where I could take the knowledge that I got working for him, come to a different company, and still do the same kind of work. We still come out here, do airfield lighting when we have the projects, and that's not the only thing that we do. Obviously, we do a lot of traffic signal, freeway lighting, all kinds of different electrical work, which I do too. But whenever we're busy with airfield lighting projects, that's where I really like to end up at.
Okay, I've got a couple more questions for you, but if anyone in the audience has questions for us, please get them in now, and we'll make sure to answer them while we're still live.
Right.
So you started out working there, and then at what point did you become a union electrician?
When I hired in here at J Rank Electric, that's when I was organized into the IBEW, which I'm fortunate for. I'm glad that I ended up joining the IBEW. It's a good career path. You can end up making a really good wage, to go do your job every day, but then also every hour that you work, you not only get paid on the check for the work that you do, but your total package. You have money going away into retirement, so that after if you kind of start doing a career young, if you kind of get into you join the IBEW at a younger age, if you work 30 years, by the time you go to retire at 50 or 60 or whenever you can, you'll also, all those years you worked, you'll be putting away money into a retirement, so you don't have to work until you're 70 or 80 years old.
Right, yeah, exactly. So for anyone interested in trying to become an electrician yourself, you would go through an apprenticeship, and while you're in an apprenticeship, you work and learn at the same time. You get paid to learn. Depending on the exact union or exact apprenticeship that you're in, there's different amounts of days of work and days of classroom time, but it's pretty much consistent that you're working much more than you're sitting in a classroom.
Yep. Yeah, so I went through all that. There was 5 years of schooling where you'd go to a classroom and you'd learn the National Electrical Code. So, and that's where you go to become an electrician. All the code, and then after the 5 years of schooling, you would take a test through the state, and you'd become a state licensed electrician. And then at that point, once you get your journeyman's license, you can from there you could get your master's license if you wanted to, and then you could bid your own work and have your own master's license. You could have your own company if you wanted to go that path, or you could go from a journeyman, which that's what I am, as a journeyman electrician, but then also you could just work your way up until you one day become a foreman, and then you're running the crew.
Yeah. What drew you to electrical work? Like, is there something that made you want to be an electrician?
Well, it was kind of my dad. My dad, he was a farmer. He's a welder, and now he's a crane operator. He's kind of always been good at everything that he does. And my brother and my uncle and my granddad, they're all in heating and cooling and plumbing and pipe fitting. So my dad was like, hey, I can do all this, they can do all that, we need an electrician now.
Just round out all of the trades in the family.
Yeah, kind of wanted
That's
to just
awesome.
have everybody in the family kind of good at something. So
that's a really cool way to look at it.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that one as an inspiration. When you started talking about your dad, I thought you were going to say your dad was an electrician. I hear that a lot, that a lot of the people who know that the trades are viable and rewarding careers are people who know an electrician personally, or know someone who's in the trades, maybe not an electrician, maybe an operator or a laborer, and they know that they do earn a good living and they enjoy their work. And so a lot of times that's kind of how people get into it. So it's cool to hear that yours was in search for variety of skill.
Yep. Yeah, so far it's it works out too, because whenever we got our own projects going on at home, or my brother's house or something, you know, he can handle this part of it, and then I can go, you know, do the electrical part of it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Self-sufficient.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't have much more to say. If you have any advice you could give to someone either ending their career in high school, headed out into the work world, or just trying to figure out what they might want to do as a middle schooler, what advice do you have for kids who are thinking about a career in a trade?
I guess, you know, the thing would be is don't be scared to go out and get a job. You know, don't be scared to go out and try to, even, you know, try if you don't like it, you know, find a different job, you know. But I, you know, like I said, I never would have known that I could have this good of a job working, you know, doing this cool of a, you know, to be able to install hundreds of lights around a runway, and then when you get done making all the connections and you turn it on, to see that many lights light up and all the hard work you did at night, it's really cool. If you ever go by an airport at night and you look out on the airfield, there's thousands of lights sometimes. So, you know, I really ended up enjoying what I do. I'd just say, you know, like when I was coming right out of high school and my previous employer offered me a job, I was scared. You know, I was like, well, I don't know how this is gonna go, but, you know, I'm glad that I did. You know, try it, get the job, stick with it, you know, take the apprenticeship schooling, work your way through, and, you know, eventually, you know, you can end up with a good job that you really enjoy doing. And that's the big thing, is I wouldn't want to, you know, go through the rest of my career not enjoying my job. And this, you know, fortunately, I really enjoy, you know, doing all the different kinds of lighting on airfields.
Thank you so much for the advice. We did actually have one more question. Michael asked, is there a slow time for you, like construction in the winter?
Yeah, you'll have that. You know, that's kind of any kind of construction. If you're going to kind of specialize in outdoor construction, you know, if you get into, you know, there's definitely different career paths as far as plumbing, pipe fitting, whatever, where you can be inside working and stay busy all year round. But, you know, if you get in with a good company and they can still keep you busy, they can still keep things moving through the winter, even when the work slows down a little bit. You know, they'll still be, as long as you're willing to show up every day and do a good job, you know, then they'll still find some work for you to do, even if sometimes you might have to travel a little bit to a warmer state during the winter, you know, to stay busy. But it gets a little slow during the winter, but fortunately, so far in the 7 years that I've worked here at J Rank now, it's been pretty consistent, you know, year round, but it does get a little slower.
Yeah, that is something to be aware of in construction. There can be layoffs in the winter. A lot of the guys who do a lot of work that depends on digging and working outdoors, when the ground is frozen and they can't do that, some people expect and maybe even look forward to a short layoff if they've been working 7 days a week during the summer.
Yep.
I've heard that.
Yep.
So yes, it is part of our work and kind of construction in Michigan. But the cool thing about something like a journeyman's license as an electrician, you can take that anywhere and work in Florida or California or wherever in the winter if you wanted to.
Yep, there's a lot of different options there. The big thing is you know, if you want to stay busy, if you want to stay working year round, you know, the big thing is show up on time and do your job, and, you know, try to do it the best you can, you know, and then, you know, you'll end up staying a little bit more busy that way.
Yeah, that's honestly probably some of the best advice. Show up, work hard, be willing to learn, and that's every time I've talked to a skilled tradesperson about their career and what advice they have for students is just show up, be there, work hard, and you'll go far.
Yeah, I mean, you really can. You know, you can have a good job, you can make good money, and, you know, you'll also be putting money aside for your retirement one day. So, you know, when you're 55 years old, you can be on a boat on a lake somewhere.
That's the goal. Hey, well, I think that's Good. We've covered everything I wanted to talk about. So we'll be back next week, same time, 9 a.m. Eastern. We'll be looking at some street lighting. We won't have Jordan with us, so thank you, Jordan, for your time today. Thanks
Absolutely.
for letting us visit and telling us all about this work here at this airport. If you do have more questions, you can pop them in the comments and we can address them going forward. But thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and we're going to sign off here. Bye.